Israel. Joining us now, David Rubin, blogger for Israel National News and the former mayor of Shiloh, Skyping in this morning from the biblical heartland. David, if you had to assess the situation in Israel right now, how would you describe it?
Very tense, heating up, and heading for an explosion.
And is the explosion going to be between Israel and the Palestinian organizations? Or is it fair to say, David, in terms of politics, there has been friction between the United States and Israel, the criticism of the new building in East Jerusalem? How would you assess American-Israeli relations at this point?
Well, I think there too I would use the word tense. American relations with Israel are very tense. The problem is that there are a lot of Israelis who don't realize that there is a groundswell of support for Israel out there in the American heartland. And I'm speaking to you here from Israel's biblical heartland, and I have to tell you that Israelis, many of them don't understand that the conflict is really between the Obama administration and the Netanyahu administration, and not so much a tense situation between Israel itself and the United States itself.
Now, the American people and the Israeli people have had a long relationship, but what is going on right now between President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu? In your mind, is President Obama to blame, or are there equal problems from both parties in that personal relationship?
Oh, there's absolutely no question, JB. The situation is that Obama, from the time that he came into office in 2008, was rearing for a fight. And he came into office, he had his first meeting with Netanyahu. He started complaining and lecturing Netanyahu about the Israeli settlements, what they call the Israeli settlements in Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem, Israel's capital. And this has gone on continuously since then. Obama had Netanyahu with his advisors fending for their own dinner in the White House shortly thereafter. Then there have been countless other meetings. Obama forced a freeze on building of homes for Jews in Israel's biblical heartland. We're talking about the areas that 3,300 years ago were Israel's capital. You want to go back 3,300 years in the United States, and you won't find too many of the present-day Americans who could trace their roots back that far. Israel's capital is Jerusalem. Israel's historical biblical heartland is Judea and Samaria, the area that they call the West Bank, that much of the world calls the West Bank, which is a fictional term. But Israel's history is here in the heartland, in Jerusalem, in Samaria, in Shiloh, in Bethlehem. All of these places are Israel's heartland, Israel's roots, and whatever Obama says, Israel is not going to stop allowing Jews to build here and to live here. It would be discriminatory, it would be historically incorrect, and it would be biblically incorrect.
Now, David, you've made the case for these continued settlements and construction. I can't say that there are a lot of media outlets in the West that have indulged Israeli explanations on this point. President Obama aside, what about Western media or American mass media? Have they been covering this fairly in your mind?
Oh, clearly not. Look, we have to remember, no, it's not Obama. And, Obama's the president, he's the head of the Democratic Party, and he's the one who's in charge at this point. There's not much we can do about that. And I certainly don't want to interfere in American politics, although I suspect that there might be some changes after the midterms that will certainly affect Israel. I think it's important to remember that the media just as the media in Israel is controlled by the left, the media in the United States is controlled by the left, at least the mainstream media and the TV networks, other than Newsmax, of course, which is certainly a light in the darkness.
Well, let me have you shed some light on what's going on the ground there. We're hearing talk of riots, a very tense situation. We've got about a minute 30 left. Bring it all together for us, what's going on now and what you expect in the next month or so.
Well, it's not just here. It's not just hearing reports of riots. I was on a train in Jerusalem on the light rail, and there were rocks thrown at the train. There have been people who've been hurt. There are people who've been attacked. There are people who've been killed by the Arab rioting in Jerusalem. And it's all coming from the top, we have to remember. Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority is giving the directive to go ahead and launch terrorist attacks. He is rewarding every terrorist with financial reward, with financial payments, and especially if an Israeli is killed or wounded, then they get an extra amount, an extra bonus on top of that. This is all documented in my book, Peace for Peace, and in many other places. It's clear that the orders to riot in Jerusalem and to kill and attack Jews in the streets of Jerusalem is coming from the top of the Palestinian Authority, from the very mouth of Mahmoud Abbas, who is welcomed in every Western capital. And it's not right, and it's incorrect, it's historically incorrect, it's unjust.
And we understand that, unfortunately, another unjust thing, the vagaries of time, we are out of it. We'll have to leave it there. David Rubin, thank you so much.